And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. Thanks for watching. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau. We are here to talk about St. Mary's athletics and other events coming up to the St. Mary's University campus. And Donny, I see you survived Alumni Weekend, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. But later on in the show, our interview segment will feature Mike Lester, the volleyball coach, and one of his senior players, Courtney Runge.
Yeah, it should be a really great segment. The interesting thing that I want to talk to Mike and Courtney about, and I've talked a lot to Mike about it, is they're off to a great start, 8-1. But I'm more curious to see their reaction to what they did last summer, and that was they went to Greece as a team and played some volleyball in Greece. And I know talking to Mike that they had a great time, but I'd be curious to get a take from Courtney on what it was like to to play overseas and to experience Greece. So we'll have to do that, as well as talk about what an outstanding start to the season they've had.
Absolutely. We may touch on that later on in this segment. But first, Donny, Alumni Weekend. It was a terrific time. You had the cross-country meet going on, and we'll show some photos of that later in this first segment here. But it was a Hall of Fame weekend and M Club weekend with the big athletic banquet. How did it all go?
Oh, it was amazing. It was a lot of fun, and it starts on Friday night. We actually had an alumni game on Friday night with the men's hockey team. Probably 15, 16 guys, alumni showed up for that, which was a lot of fun. Neat to see some of those people back. And then we had the golf outing on Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. A lot of our current student athletes worked at the golf outing, which was really nice because they got a chance to mingle with the with the alums coming back and talk to them a little bit. And then we had our big awards ceremony that evening, which included the induction of 3 new people into our Sports Hall of Fame: Chad Dory, Sue Otto, and Tom Pepper. It's always fun to have that that ceremony. It's really become a real nice thing in the fall. We get all our student athletes together, and they get to see what it's like when we induct people into the Hall of Fame, and listening to the speeches of our inductees was really nice. And I think that the athletes themselves could take a lot out of that. It was interesting this year. This was the first year that one of our inductees wasn't actually at the induction ceremony. Sue Otto just took a job overseas, so she was actually moving her family to Singapore, so she wasn't able to be there. And then, of course, after we survived Saturday night, we moved into Sunday, and we had all of our alumni games, which really is a lot of fun. Baseball, softball, men's and women's soccer, tennis, swimming. They all had alumni games, and that's really neat. It's really fun to see some of the players come back and see them play. I got to see some baseball players from my era. Jamie Junker and Ricky Michaels were back, and I hadn't seen them in a number of years, so it was great to see them. And I got to see some of the newer alums, like Dan Cosgrove was back, and Dan flailed mightily as he struck out against Chad Dory. So that was a lot of fun too. So it's a neat weekend, and it's a time for for a lot of memories, and a time for just a lot of getting people back onto our campus and just enjoying what turned out to be a perfect weekend in terms of weather as well.
Baseball time from your era. I won't even ask what kind of bats they were using.
They were still aluminum. We're okay there.
Okay. I saw the pictures look great. Obviously, terrific weather for this past weekend and all of the events, and it sounds like a good turnout.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think that everybody that came back really appreciated everything that went on for the weekend, and hopefully next year it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. And we started this 7 years ago, and it really has grown quite a bit, and just to see all the alumni back. I mean, volleyball has had such a great turnout with their alumni game every single year, and this year was no exception. We got to watch assistant coach Tessa Stranik play, and she had to work quite a bit as a setter because some of the passes weren't exactly the way they were back when they were in their playing days.
Right. All right, let's move on now and talk about some of the current student athletes at St. Mary's and how they're doing. And we'll start off with women's soccer, Donny, and they had their conference opening matchup and battled to a 0-0 tie, but all in all, a pretty good performance. They didn't win a conference game last year, and though they didn't get the win, they played very well, especially Mariana Sanchez in goal.
Absolutely, and you really hit it on the head to think that last year they did not win a conference game, and it wasn't obviously for lack of trying, but this team this year is vastly improved. They went into Tuesday night's game against Bethel with a perfect 4-0 record. And they were going up against a team in Bethel that had outscored their first 5 opponents 40-0. So for them to take them to a 0-0 tie is obviously saying that I think St. Mary's has certainly taken a step in the right direction. And there's no reason that you can't single out Mariana Sanchez. She had a career record 13 saves in that game, and several of them were obviously highlight reels. She made a pair of saves point-blank range where she dove for one, and while she was still on her knees, had to dive for the second one and made both saves. And you know, she was certainly the reason that they got a tie out of it. But you know, as a team, they played great. They had their share of opportunities, and I think that, you know, talking to Coach Zimmerman after the game, it was a hard-earned, well-deserved 0-0 tie.
Yeah, it's sort of like a gift at Father's Day. You'd rather not have a tie, but it's better than nothing, right?
Absolutely. And you look at, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, St. Mary's have been scoring goals at a pretty good clip, too, heading into that game. And, you know, Amy Sibick has just been phenomenal. She's, you know, 9 goals in 5 games now is just great. She's now got 27 goals for her career, and she's moving right up the ladder. She's in the top 10 in career scoring, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if she's in the top 5 by the end of her career. She's having a great season again this year, and I'm sure that we'll expect more of the same in the weeks to come.
And the women's soccer team home to Carleton this upcoming weekend, Saturday at 1 o'clock, so a good chance for the fans to come out and see the women's team play this Saturday. Should be great weather again. Bethel was in Winona over this past week and took on the men's team, and this was a team that Winona, the St. Mary's team, beat last year. But unfortunately, Bethel came out with a 3-1 win this year, and apparently, from everything I've seen about it, a much improved Royal squad.
Absolutely. The Cardinals ended their season last year beating Bethel 2-1 in overtime. That was actually their second straight win to end the season last year. So they opened their conference season against Bethel again this year, and it was a very much improved team. And you know, as Coach Dembeck said, you know, they made a couple of mistakes, and you know, Bethel made them pay for them. They got called for a foul inside the box in the first half. Bethel converted that, so they were leading 1-0 heading into halftime, and then in the second half scored 2 more goals before St. Mary's got on the board. Jacob Bina, freshman from West Salem, scored St. Mary's goal, so it was good to see you know, somebody else score a goal besides Steve Busey and Jovenel DeHady. But you know, right now, I think that's one of Coach Dembeck's concerns right now is, again, offensively, you're not going to win a whole lot of ball games scoring one goal a game, and right now, you know, that's where they're at, is they're averaging just a little over 1 goal a game. So they need their offense to pick up. Defensively, they're playing very well. You know, you take away a PK, which obviously is, you know, should be an automatic goal. It was a 2-1 game. So, you know, defensively, they're playing very well. They need to pick it up offensively.
Right. They're at Carleton on Saturday, so another conference matchup. And the conference games are going to be tough, no question about it. You always feel good, though, when you have John Safransky in goal, and that'll be the case this weekend.
Absolutely. John will have to be at the top of his game. Carleton is coming off of back-to-back conference championships, so they're going to be very difficult to beat on their own home pitch. So it's going to be a tough game, but you're right. You got John in goal. You've certainly got a chance. And, you know, you offensively, you've got people like Bobby Gass and Jermaine Walker and, you know, Andy Adair and people like that. They're going to get their share of goals. It's just a matter of, you know, scoring some of the opportunities that they have, because right now they're creating the opportunities, they're just not putting the ball in the net.
Right. Last weekend, the men's golf team was at the Augsburg Invitational, had a terrible first day, but a terrific second day, so I guess it evened out in the end. And you certainly, if given the choice, you would want a better second day, because then you feel better about going into the next contest, which will be the St. John's Invitational this upcoming weekend.
Absolutely. It's another one of those chances that St. Mary's got a good idea of what the whole conference looked like, because it's the first time that they played in a tournament that had all of the conference schools. And I think that Coach Stengel was pretty pleased with the way things shaped up, especially, like you said, in the second round. Right now, the problem the Cardinals got is they've got to lower their scores. They've only got 4 rounds in the 70s this season after basically 3 weeks, and you know, Rob Klein had 2 of those at the Augsburg Invitational, shooting a 79 and then a 77, and so those numbers have got to be lowered. They've got to get that down where they're getting, you know, 3-4 rounds in the 70s in a specific day if they're going to make any kind of a move at the conference championship.
Right, and the women's golf team, couple of weeks off here, right, before they get back in gear next weekend.
Correct.
Right?
They'll be at the Carleton Invitational next weekend, and again, that's one of those that'll be their final tune-up before the conference championships for them. So hopefully they're getting in a lot of good practice, and you know, once they hit the links again, they should be ready to go.
Right. In cross country, we have some terrific pictures of the St. Mary's Alumni Invitational, and terrific performances by both the men and women. The men finish in second place in this one.
Yeah, David Feather had a great race for the men. He finished 5th overall, and Peter Borash was right behind him, finishing 2nd. So those two ran a great race, and you know, you look at the way that they're running right now, and I know Coach Barrett is very happy. Our trails at St. Mary's, that 8K course was the toughest course that they'll face all year. So you know, they train on that course, they run that meet, and now when they move on to some of the other meets that are run on more flat, more traditional golf course style courses, those times are just going to continue to drop. On the women's side, they finished third, and Rachel Folan had a fantastic race, finishing third overall, which is really an outstanding thing for her to accomplish. And again, Coach Barrett is happy with where they're at, but he wants to continue to see those times drop. They'll compete like every other week now up until the conference championships in early November. So I think that he's looking forward to those times continually dropping and hoping to hit their peak at the conference championship.
Donnie, from hearing from Coach Barrett and some of the athletes, what's the biggest thing you hear as far as the difference between the St. Mary's course and other courses that they run on?
It's the hills. The course that they run on it's literally up and down, and we're talking climbs rather than if you go to a golf course where you may have a little hill that just kind of is just a little rise, but they're climbing up some pretty good hills,
right.
and I think that's the biggest thing is it's a very hilly course, and when you're running on trails like that, you've got to battle the elements a little bit with the fallen leaves, with if it's wet or if there's dew there that might make it a little slippery. So it's just a completely different terrain than they're used to running when they're running some of those golf course type
I would
courses.
guess a bit of an advantage since they can practice on it, and other teams it's hard to simulate that in when you're out practicing.
Absolutely, and it is. It's a definite advantage. It's like the soccer teams being able to practice on the artificial turf. You get a team like Carleton that comes in now and they haven't played on the turf. It's a huge advantage for St. Mary's, and it's the same in cross country.
Right.
To be able to run on their own trails. You don't have to travel. You get to get up at a normal hour. You don't have to hop on a bus for a couple hours, and things like that make a big difference when it comes to a competition.
Right. All right, stay tuned here to the Cardinals Nest. When we return on HBC, we'll bring in Mike Lester and Courtney Runge from the volleyball team. That's next here on Channel 25.
These days, everyone's talking about saving the environment.
And at HBC, we're doing the little things that you can do that really make a difference.
Like recycling our bottles and cans.
Or shutting down our computers at night to help save electricity.
Or setting out bins for our excess paper waste.
And even something as simple as turning off the lights.
At HBC, being green is just another way we're helping to build a better community.
For more tips on having a green lifestyle, visit our website, my.hbci.com/green.
And welcome back. Thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. We're here to talk volleyball now. Dean Beckman, Donny Nadeau, joined by Mike Lester, the head coach for the volleyball team, and one of his senior players, Courtney Runge. Thanks for joining us here on the Cardinals Nest. Now, Mike, you're a wily veteran here to the Cardinals Nest, so we'll pose the first question for Courtney. Courtney, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got started in volleyball, and what you're majoring in at St. Mary's, and how you landed at St. Mary's.
Okay. Well, I'm a senior from St. James, Minnesota, which is about 3 hours west of here. I visited Winona State first and didn't really like it there, but I love the area, and so then I decided to try out St. Mary's. I am a sport management and marketing major. And what else did you ask?
Well, yeah, how did you get started in volleyball back in high school or grade school?
My sister played volleyball, my older sister, and so we went to a lot of her games, and I started in about 6th grade was the first organized type of thing, and then just continued all the way.
Yeah, great. Well, it sounds like you were very thoughtful in the process and how you landed at St. Mary's, and Mike, you're the beneficiary of that. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We consider ourselves very fortunate.
Yeah.
Very fortunate.
Obviously, Mike, we've talked many times now in the last 3-4 weeks, but you're coming into Wednesday's conference opener 8-1, having won your last 8 straight after opening the season with a loss. Talk a little bit about the start of the season. I mean, is anything surprised you with how the season has gone?
You know, and you're right. We have talked quite a bit, Donnie, and I don't like to use the word surprised because I think that going into this season we had some expectations to do pretty well and to hopefully be able to put it together. I think if there's one thing that's been unique and really something to key on this season has been the consistency that we've been able to play with in the last 8 matches. I know as a team, we talk about that quite a bit, making sure that, every time we step on the court for practice or a match, that we try to play at the highest level we can. And fortunately, over the last couple of weeks, we've been able to do that.
And that really is a key when you start talking about not only conference matches, but regional matches. You're looking at the importance of that consistency. And we talk about the 8 matches you just played. Well, you've got a huge stretch here, starting with Wednesday's match against Augsburg, and then you go to the Simpson tournament. where you're facing 3 more very important regional matches. So talk a little bit about how you keep them with that consistency, how you keep them playing at that very high level.
Well, I think a lot of the credit goes to our team. Our team, I think, every time they step on the court, they're working to get better, but I think more importantly, they have fun while they're doing it. And it's easy to play consistently well and to push yourself when it's fun at the same time. And I think that, at least I hope that that's what they would say. That every time they step on the court, they're having fun while they're doing it, and that makes it easy to push them and challenge them a little bit and make them better.
Courtney, what is the atmosphere like with the team? You lost Teresa Perini from last year, and Donny and I talked about that on a previous show. She brought a lot of leadership, but you do have so many returning players. What's the atmosphere like on and off the court?
Well, we didn't really, we lost Teresa, but, we have this new freshman coming in to take her spot, and I think with all, the new freshmen in, we've really got this great chemistry going, which is super, because you never know from year to year what's going to happen and whatever. Right. So I think just on and off the court, we're real good friends off and on, so it really just, it works well together.
Mm-hmm. I guess the question I asked Mike, and he couldn't really answer it, and I'll put you on the spot a little bit. For 3 years, you've been a very steady contributor to this team. This year, you've actually stepped up and you've become that go-to person. What's been the difference between last year and this year for you personally?
Personally? Well, every summer, I'm working hard coming into the season, and so this year I felt like I tried to up it from last year, which gets kind of hard, trying to keep raising the bar, but I think that was part of it. And then, as an offense, we've increased the speed, the tempo of everything, so everything's starting to click and just run a lot more smoother, so that might be part of it.
I think she's definitely raised the bar in that the last 2 tournaments. She was all-tournament team. She was a tournament MVP at Wartburg, and she was also the MIC hitter of the week last week. So, yeah, you've definitely raised the bar. So talk a little bit about, you talked about the freshmen coming in. Obviously, Tara Rasmussen's done a great job. What has surprised you, or what have you looked at this year and said, okay, this is really going to help us out as we strive to get back to the conference tournament, get to the regional tournament, and probably get to the national tournament as well?
Just as individuals of them coming in, they bring a lot of energy and a lot of spirit, which keeps the team moving, keep going in the right direction, helping everyone on the court who's off, the sideline, is helping everyone on the court, and vice versa type of thing.
You talk about team chemistry, Mike, and it's always nice to do something that's a team bonding type of a thing. Talk a little bit about last summer and the trip that you guys took to Greece, because obviously with all the returners you do have, that must have been a great bonding experience.
I think it was for sure. I know that, in talking to the players, they can't stop talking about it. Fortunately, every 3 years we've been able to make a trip. We've gone to Italy twice, and this last spring we went to Greece. And for the first time in all of those trips, we were able to take our entire returning roster. And that's always big when the entire group goes. That way, when you come back, there's that connection right away. And, we were able to go over there, play 3 volleyball matches against some professional teams in Greece. Play pretty well, but more importantly, have a good experience, sightseeing, playing some competitive volleyball, but at the same time, just really traveling together and still getting to know each other. I think it's been critical in what we've been able to do this season so far.
You're wearing one of the warm-up shirts that you guys have on, and I know I talked to you at the Sugarloaf Classic. There's a funny word on the back of it, and can you just, for those that come watch a volleyball match, they're going to see them, see your players warming up with that shirt on. Just explain the word and how it came about to being put on the back of your shirt.
Sure. When we came back, from Greece, what we always try to do each year is we try to have some sort of a theme, some sort of something that we put on our shirt or that we talk about a lot. We've had Expect More, we've had, Support and Challenge and things like that. But when we came back from Greece, while we were over there, it was interesting. Every team over there kept saying the same thing. They'd scream it out during the game. They'd keep yelling, "Pame, Pame, Pame." And we were trying to figure out what it meant. We finally asked our guide what it meant, and he said, well, Pame in Greek means let's go. And so our team thought, that'd be kind of a good thing to put on the back of our T-shirt. So back of our shirt in Greek says Pame, which means let's go.
Courtney, talk a little bit about the trip in terms of being a student athlete. What did you get out of a trip like that?
It was a great experience. I mean, it cost the money, but it was worth the money. We got to see Athens, and I think we played 2 out of the 3 matches there. And then we got to see Delphi, and we made a big loop around and got to go to some of the islands, and just a great experience. See how another part of the world lives, each day and stuff like that.
How was the volleyball over there? Is it different than what you play here in the States?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't really know.
Yeah, it was a little different. They play a very international style, and when you talk international style of volleyball, it's really set it high and swing hard. You know, there's not a lot of complexity to it, but it's set a high ball outside and let your players go up and get the ball. Back sets are really high. You know, nothing really fast tempo wise. You know, but it really is a much more you know, set a high, swing hard game. Where here in the States, it's a little bit more complex offensively. Timing things are a little bit different, a little bit quicker tempo. You know, something that Courtney mentioned we've been trying to focus on this year as well. So.
You know, yeah, the tempo thing I want to come back to. Courtney mentioned it earlier. Your decision to up the tempo, mention that, and your decision to do that, I have to believe you felt comfortable doing that because of all of the returning players.
That certainly helps. You know, certainly helps when you have a large part of your offense coming back and trying to make things a little bit more complex. But you know, last year, you know, I was fortunate enough to be on the NCAA National Championships Volleyball Committee and go to the Final 8 down in Illinois. And in watching those top teams play, the biggest difference that I saw between what we were doing and what they were doing was that tempo and the speed of the game. Everything was just a little bit quicker. So, you know, it was a good time to do it, one, because we had a lot of players returning, but two, because we were taking that international trip, we were allowed additional practice dates this spring. So we were able to spend the spring really working on trying to improve that tempo, accelerate the speed of the game, and we were able to try it out in a few matches while we were over in Greece. So it ended up being a perfect time to try it. You know, now after our first match of this season, I think there was a little bit of nerves about whether it was a good decision or not. But certainly, you know, since then we've settled in and done a good job with
There
it.
seemed to be incredible growth from that first game against Viterbo, first match against Viterbo, to the second one in the Sugarloaf Classic. Maybe from your perspective, talk about that.
Yeah, you know, I don't know what it was. We had played against ourselves for so long. It was probably a little bit of a shock going and playing somebody a little bit different, and some nerves out there that first match. You know, like I said at the beginning, you know, we have some expectations this year. The team has put some certain expectations on themselves, and to really go out on that first match and maybe get a little bit of a wake-up call might have ended up being very good for us. You know, again, since then we've been fairly consistent and played at a pretty high level. So we hope to continue that here for the next couple of months.
Do you look at, you know, we talked off camera, you play 30 matches in a season, and really only 11 of them are conference matches. Do you find yourself maybe feeling a little extra pressure, Courtney, in terms of when you play those conference matches, or do you guys try to really approach each match as, hey, it's this match and we just go from here on?
Well, tonight's the first one. Well, yeah, Wednesday. And I think tonight will be more like the nerves, the first one, you know, see where we compare to someone else in the MIAC. But I don't know, I think just game to game, just take it how it is and play what you know to play, you know, and it'll come.
Mike, obviously your conference is amazingly difficult.
Right.
You know, we were talking, there's 4 teams that are nationally ranked in the top 25. You get into the conference tournament, that's an accomplishment when you think about the talent level that you've got in this conference.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's been years where if you made the conference tournament, you had an excellent chance of getting into the NCAA tournament. You know, 6 teams make our conference championships, and 2 years ago, 5 of those 6 teams got berths into the NCAA tournament. You know, so that tells you how strong our conference is. You know, Courtney and I talked a little bit on the way over here, a little bit about our upcoming conference matches and, you know, what teams we're going to do and that sort of thing. And we both kind of were just talking and saying, you know, I think for us, let's make other teams worry about what we're doing. Let's go out and do the things that we do well, and let the chips fall where they may.
And if I could ask, what is it that you do well?
Well, right now we've been in system pretty much for 8 straight matches. And for us to be in our system right now is making it very, very difficult on teams. You know, that's something that we hope to continue during the conference. You know, right now we've got 5 players that are hitting over 250. Last year, the best hitting percentage on our team was 250. So we've got a very, very balanced offense right now. And I think that makes it difficult for a lot of teams to face. You know, when we go up against a lot of teams, we can key on a player, focus on somebody. But if a team decides to focus a little bit on Courtney, we've got Sarah Gardner that's going to play well. We've got Amy, we've got Jess Larson. You know, and Jess Mate, who was our first team all-conference player last year, hasn't gotten talked about a whole lot this year because everybody else has really stepped up her game. Doesn't mean Jess isn't playing well, because she is, but it's just nice to have that balance.
In some of the tournaments you've been in, you've gone up against excellent teams from Iowa with Loras and Luther College. You're going to be back in Iowa at the Simpson Invitational this upcoming weekend. Who are some of the teams you'll face there?
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be a tough tournament. We opened the tournament with Nebraska Wesleyan, who we played this last weekend. They are getting votes in the national poll. They're ranked in the region, and so we'll face them again. Simpson College is also a team that is right now winning that Iowa conference and is going to be a top team in the region. And then Northwestern College out of the Twin Cities, who went 30-7 last year and returned almost their entire lineup. So it's going to be 3 tough matches, you know. And if you somehow find a way to get past those 3, you have Carthage College, who right now is number 5 in the country, waiting in the wings. So it'll be a good tournament. It should be a fun one for us.
You've always been one that made sure that your schedule was laden with several very, very good teams. And if you look at the teams that you've played, obviously this year is the same thing. Is there a disadvantage to having to play a team twice? You've done it now, you know, you've done it with Viterbo, and now you'll do it with Nebraska Wesleyan. Is there an advantage or a disadvantage to having to play a team a second time?
I don't know if there's an advantage or a disadvantage, but it is challenging. It is challenging to play a team twice. You know, if you happen to win the match, win the match the first time around, you know, the second time around it's tougher to play with a high level of energy. You know, we found that out a little bit this weekend with Loras. You know, we played solidly in the second match against them, but it was just tough to play with some energy after playing them twice. So that certainly will be another challenge for us against Nebraska Wesleyan this week.
And Courtney, coming out, you're going to be coming up to senior night pretty soon. Was that something you've given much thought to yet, or?
Not yet. It still doesn't really hit me that it's going to be coming up, and it's coming soon. So.
Right. Donnie probably wants his write-up.
Yeah,
right?
the senior suits are due next week.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, it's been fun and an exciting time, and you're off to a great start, and certainly look forward to what comes later on in the year here.
Yeah, it should be fun. Like I said, we're excited to be where we are, but we know that you know, we've got a lot of work to do within our conference, and so, you know, we're just taking it that one match at a time, like you mentioned earlier, Donnie, and trying to be focused on tonight, and then we'll worry about the weekend, and you know, take care of ourselves and not worry about what other teams are doing right now.
Yeah. Does it, Mike? Do things slow down a little bit? You know, you guys have been going, you know, 4 matches a week. Now this week you'll have 5 matches. Sure. As the season starts to get really into the conference, does it slow down a little bit for you guys, where you don't feel like you're, you know, playing so often?
It does in terms of the load of matches. I mean, we won't be playing 5 matches a week, but we will be playing, you know, 2 or 3 days a week, basically, for the remainder of the season. You know, with a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or a Wednesday, Saturday. What does change is those tournaments now change into single match conference dates. You know, we'll play 1 match on Friday, 1 match on Saturday. So from a game load, it'll slow down a little bit. But from a date situation, it doesn't very much.
All right, Mike Lester, Courtney Runge, good luck the rest of the year. Thanks for being on the Cardinals Nest.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Donnie and I will be right back with more here on HBC.
The weather affects us each day. It determines how we dress, our family plans, even our mood. And while HBC TV 25 can't control the weather, we can provide you the information you need to plan better. We'll bring you the latest weather information featuring state-of-the-art forecast equipment and Doppler radar. Plus, you'll be able to find weather 24/7 on my.hbci.com. HBC TV 25, your news and now weather source.
Back here on the Cardinals Nest, and Donnie, next week the Theater Arts Department is doing a play about us, I think. Fallen Angels is what it's called, and there you see all of the information, and they'll actually be our interview guests next week here on the Cardinals Nest.
Yeah, as we expand to other than athletes, it's going to be very interesting,
yeah.
And it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that show.
All right, we got to go. Thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest right here on HBC Channel 25.